Dr. Ju Park adjusted her gravity boots as she floated along the corridor of her research ship. The lights were dimmed to conserve power during the long expedition. Through the viewport, the swirling gases of the Arcturus Nebula painted the darkness with blues and purples. She watched the data stream across her tablet, checking the readings for the 5th time. "Captain, you should see this," called her sensor officer from the bridge. Ju pushed off the wall, propelling herself forward. The bridge of the Horizon Seeker was compact but efficient, with screens displaying the nebula's currents and radiation patterns. "What have you found, Minji?" she asked, grabbing a handhold to stop herself. Minji pointed to an anomaly on her screen. "Something big is out there. Our scanners almost missed it because it absorbs almost all radiation, but the gravitational readings are unmistakable." Ju studied the data. "How big?" "Massive. At least 2 kilometers in length." The bridge fell silent. Nothing that size should be drifting undetected in this sector. "Plot an approach course," Ju ordered, "and call the team to the conference room." An hour later, Ju faced her 5-person crew around the oval table. The holographic projection of the mysterious object rotated slowly in the center. "The object appears artificial," she explained. "Its shape is too regular for a natural formation." Tahoe, the security officer with a perpetual crease between his eyebrows, crossed his arms. "Could be a trap. Pirates use old wrecks as bait sometimes." "Pirates don't use 2-kilometer ships," countered Hyan, the engineering specialist. His eyes hadn't left the hologram. "And our preliminary scan suggests this thing is old." "Really old? How old?" asked Subin, the medical officer. Ju took a deep breath. "Based on the radiation decay and cosmic particle embedding in the outer hull, at least 200,000 years." The room erupted in disbelief. "That's impossible." Do-Yun, the xenobiologist, shook his head. "The oldest known civilization in the galaxy only goes back 30,000 years. The Zeth Confederation barely reached 25,000 years of history, and they were considered ancient." "The carbon dating is preliminary," Ju admitted, "but multiple scans confirm it. Whatever this ship is, it predates all known galactic civilization." Tahoe frowned deeper. "Are you sure about boarding this thing? We should call this in to the Science Authority first. By the time they send a proper expedition, the nebula currents will have pushed it into the radiation belt. We might never find it again," Ju argued. "This could be the greatest archaeological find in human history. We have to investigate." The team's shuttle detached from the Horizon Seeker with a gentle hiss. Ju sat in the cockpit beside Tahoe, who piloted the small craft toward the massive dark shape ahead. As they approached, floodlights illuminated sections of the hull. "Look at those lines," Hayam whispered in awe. "No visible seams or welding. It's like the entire hull was grown as a single piece." The material didn't reflect light as expected. Instead, it seemed to absorb it, with subtle patterns shifting across its surface like oil on water. "I see what might be an entry point," Tahoe said, directing the shuttle toward an indentation in the hull. As they drew closer, the indentation resolved into what appeared to be an airlock, large enough to accommodate their shuttle with room to spare. "It's as if it was designed for vessels our size," Minji observed. To everyone's surprise, as they approached, lines of soft blue light activated along the edges of the opening. "It's responding to our presence," Ju said, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. Tahoe maneuvered the shuttle inside with practiced precision. The chamber they entered was vast, with enough space to hold dozens of vessels their size. "Atmospheric analysis shows breathable air," Subin reported, checking her instruments. "Gravity seems Earth normal. Temperature is 19 degrees Celsius." "That's impossible," Do-Yun protested. "After 200,000 years, any atmosphere should have leaked away." "Well, something's maintaining it," Ju said, checking her own suit readings. "Let's suit up anyway." Standard protocols. 6 figures in exploration suits moved cautiously from the shuttle into the alien hangar. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing a floor marked with intricate patterns that seemed to shift slightly when viewed from different angles. The patterns resembled neural networks, Do-Yun observed, scanning the floor with his device. As they moved deeper into the ship, more lights activated ahead of them, as if guiding their way. The corridors were tall and wide, with the same flowing design as the exterior. The architecture suggests the builders were about human-sized, Ju noted, maybe a bit taller. They passed through several chambers filled with unknown equipment, all dark and silent. Despite the ship's age, there was no dust, no degradation. Everything looked paused, rather than abandoned. After nearly an hour of exploration, they reached what appeared to be a central chamber. The room was circular, with a raised platform in the center surrounded by curved consoles. "This must be the bridge," Hyen said, examining the nearest console. "But there are no obvious controls. No buttons, no screens." Ju approached the central platform. It held a single crystalline pedestal that rose to about waist height. The surface was smooth and slightly translucent, with the same shifting patterns they had seen throughout the ship, but more concentrated. "Be careful," Tahoe warned as Ju. The implication stunned the group into silence. Humanity's place in the galaxy had always been precarious, a relatively young species amid older, more established civilizations. To discover they had been chosen by an ancient power changed everything. "Show us more of the ship," Ju requested after a moment. Sentinel led them through passageways that lit up as they approached. Dormant systems awakened with each step. In one vast chamber, tiny machines the size of insects swarmed around damaged sections of wall, repairing them. "Self-maintenance systems," Sentinel explained. "They have preserved the Starborn Dominion for millennia." In another chamber, a demonstration of the ship's weapons left them speechless. Energy fields that could manipulate gravity itself, bending space to create impenetrable shields, or devastating offensive capabilities. "The ship contains 12 primary weapon systems," Sentinel explained as a simulation showed a beam of energy rippling through space itself. "This is the most basic." "Most basic?" Subin whispered, eyes wide. The engine room revealed propulsion technology beyond their comprehension, drives that could fold space rather than simply travel through it. "The ship can reach any point in the galaxy within days rather than the months or years your current technology requires," Sentinel said. Throughout the tour, systems continued to activate. Lights brightened, machinery hummed to life, and more holographic interfaces appeared. The ancient vessel was awakening fully for the first time in 200,000 years. Why was this ship abandoned? Ju finally asked as they returned to the command center. Sentinel's light dimmed slightly, suggesting something like solemnity. "The Starborn Dominion was not abandoned, Commander. It was protected. After the final battle, when it became clear the precursor civilization would not survive, this vessel was placed in emergency stasis. It was programmed to await an inheritor, someone with the specific genetic markers to fully access its systems." Final battle. Tahoe's security training made him alert to the implication. Against whom? Before Sentinel could answer, the door to the command center slid open. Hyen burst in, breathing hard from running. "Captain, our ship just sent an emergency signal," he reported, eyes wide with alarm. "A hegemony battle group just entered the nebula. 6 warships at least. How did they find us so quickly?" Minji wondered. "The ship's awakening released an energy signature," Sentinel explained. "It would be detectable to any moderately advanced scanning technology." Tahoe's expression darkened. "The hegemony has been monitoring this sector. They've intercepted our communications." "What do they want?" Ju asked, though she suspected the answer. "Our ship intercepted their communications," Hyen said grimly. "They're talking about seizing dangerous technology and maintaining galactic stability. The usual hegemony language when they want to take something that might threaten their power." Ju felt a chill. The hegemony, a coalition of the galaxy's oldest species, had controlled interstellar travel and technology for centuries. Human expansion had always been tightly controlled, limited to certain planets and restricted from developing advanced weapons or faster-than-light technology beyond basic levels. The hegemony has suppressed human expansion since we first reached the stars, Tahoe said, voicing what they all knew. If they get this ship, he didn't need to finish the thought. The implications were clear. The hegemony would never allow humans to possess technology this advanced. At best, they would confiscate the ship for study and place the entire team under permanent detention. At worst, Juwu turned to the holographic figure. Sentinel, can this vessel still fly? After all this time, are all systems operational? The AI's light brightened. All systems fully operational, Commander Park. The Starborn Dominion awaits your command. A display materialized, showing the approaching hegemony vessels, sleek, predatory ships known for their overwhelming firepower and ruthless efficiency. The lead ship had already launched scouts toward their position. Juwu looked at her team. This decision would change their lives forever, and possibly the future of humanity itself. There would be no going back. What are you thinking, Captain? Subin asked quietly. Juwu took a deep breath, her mind racing through possibilities. The right choice was clear, though terrifying. Sentinel, she said firmly, prepare for departure. Team, secure yourselves. We're leaving. The hegemony will declare us renegades, Minji warned. They'll hunt us across the galaxy. Let them try, Juwu replied, stepping onto the command platform. Sentinel, how do I control this ship? Place your hands on the crystal interface, Commander, the AI instructed. Your neural patterns will link with the ship's systems. Think of it as an extension of yourself. As Juwu placed her palms on the cool crystal surface, she felt a tingling sensation spread up her arms. The ship seemed to sigh around them, as if truly awakening from a long slumber. All crew, secure for departure, she ordered, feeling the vessel respond to her thoughts. Let's show the hegemony what the Precursor's technology can do. The ancient warship, dormant for 200,000 years, began to move. The Starborn Dominion rose from the nebula like a massive shadow coming alive. Its dark hull absorbed the light around it, making it appear as a ship-shaped void against the colorful gases. The 6 hegemony cruisers moved to surround it, their weapons already charging. They're ordering us to power down and prepare for boarding, Minji reported from her newly activated communication station. Standard hegemony protocol. Comply or be destroyed. Juwu stood on the command platform, her hand still resting on the crystal interface. She could feel the ship, not just control it, but sense it, as if it were an extension of her own body. The sensation was unlike anything she had ever experienced. Sentinel, what are our options? She asked. The Dominion's capabilities far exceed those vessels, the AI replied. We can engage or evade. The choice is yours, Commander. Juwu considered for only a moment. We evade. I don't want to fight if we don't have to. She thought of movement, of slipping past the hegemony ships, and the Dominion responded instantly. The massive vessel accelerated with a smoothness that defied its size. The inertial dampeners were so perfect that the crew felt nothing. Only the view screen showed their incredible speed. The lead hegemony cruiser fired, a bright lance of energy shooting toward them. Juwu instinctively thought of protection, and the Dominion's shields activated. The energy weapon struck the shield and simply disappeared, absorbed completely without even a flicker of resistance. Impossible, Tahoe whispered, watching the tactical display. That weapon should have at least shaken us. The Dominion slipped between 2 hegemony cruisers with impossible grace, like water flowing between fingers. The enemy ships tried to adjust their position, but the ancient vessel was already past them, accelerating toward open space. They're firing again, Hyan reported. Multiple beams of energy converged on the Dominion. Again, the shields absorbed everything without strain. Juwu felt a strange sensation through her connection, almost like amusement, as if the ship itself found the hegemony weapons primitive. "Prepare for spacefold," Sentinel announced. "Commander, visualize your destination." Juwu thought of a remote star system she had once visited, far from major trade routes but still within range of communication networks. The ship responded, and space itself seemed to bend around them. The stars stretched into lines, and then they were elsewhere. The entire journey took less than 10 seconds. "We've traveled over 200 light-years," Minji reported in awe, checking the navigation system. That's impossible with current technology. The fastest hegemony ships would take weeks to cover this distance." Juwu removed her hands from the crystal interface, feeling slightly dizzy as the connection reduced in intensity. "We need to understand what we found, and what the hegemony will do next." "They won't give up," Tahoe said grimly. "This ship represents a threat to their entire power structure." Doyeon was monitoring the galactic communication channels. "They're already broadcasting alerts throughout their territories. They're calling you a terrorist, Captain. They claim you've stolen dangerous technology that threatens galactic stability." "How convenient," Ju replied, watching the stars on the main viewer. "They always use galactic stability as an excuse to keep humans contained." With each passing hour in the ship, Juwu's connection to it grew stronger. When she returned to the command platform, more systems unlocked at her touch. It was as if the ship was gradually calibrating itself to her neural patterns. "Sentinel," she asked during a quiet moment, "why did the precursors build this ship? What was its purpose?" "The archives contain that information," the AI responded. "I can show you, if you wish." The AI led Juwu and her team to a vast chamber deep within the ship. As they entered, the walls transformed into a continuous display, showing stars, planets, and what appeared to be a great war. The precursors were the dominant species in this galaxy for over 1,000,000 years, Sentinel explained as images of an advanced civilization appeared around them. They had achieved technological mastery beyond what any current species has reached. They believed they understood the fundamental nature of reality. The images shifted, showing darkness spreading across star systems like ink in water. Then they encountered the Void Cascade, Sentinel continued, a cosmic horror that exists partially outside normal spacetime. It consumes reality itself, leaving nothing behind. The team watched in silence as entire star systems vanished into swirling black vortices. "The precursors fought a defensive war for centuries," Sentinel said. "They created weapons that could affect the cascade, including this ship and 11 others like it. The Starborn Dominion contains technology specifically designed to counter the Void's reality warping effects." "Did they win?" Subin asked quietly. "They achieved containment, not victory," Sentinel replied. "The Void Cascade was pushed back to the space between galaxies and sealed there, but the effort cost the precursors everything. Their civilization collapsed. The survivors scattered, knowing they would not recover." "And the Void Cascade?" Hyen asked nervously. "Is it still contained?" The AI's light dimmed slightly. Precursor prophecies indicated it would return, after approximately 200,000 years. The implication hung heavy in the air. None of them needed to do the math. "That's why the ship awakened now," Juwu realized. "It wasn't coincidence that we found it." "Correct, Commander," Sentinel confirmed. "The stasis protocols were programmed to end as the calculated time of the Void's return approached." Meanwhile, across human space, fragmentary reports about the Starborn Dominion spread rapidly. The official hegemony channels demanded the ship's surrender, calling it dangerous stolen technology. But on secure human networks, the story took on a different tone. For a species long treated as second-class citizens by the alien hegemony, the ancient ship represented something they had nearly forgotten: hope. If humans were truly the chosen inheritors of precursor technology, perhaps their place in the galaxy was not as subordinate as they had been led to believe. On the ship, Tahoe interrupted their research with urgent news. "Captain, we're picking up massive fleet movements throughout hegemony space. They're mobilizing everything they have." To find us? Ju asked, concerned but not surprised. Not just that, Taiho replied, his expression complicated. Human ships are moving to intercept hegemony vessels. Military ships, civilian transports, anything that can fly. They're buying us time. Ju felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. They don't even know what we've discovered, what we're facing. They know enough, Minji said softly. They know this ship responded to you, to a human, after 200,000 years. That means something. Ju returned to the command platform, placing her hands on the crystal interface. The connection flowed through her stronger than before, and she sensed new systems becoming available. If the hegemony is determined to stop us, she said, and the void cascade is returning, we need to be prepared for both threats. Sentinel, show me everything this ship can do. Hidden deep within a dense asteroid field at the edge of charted space, the starborn Dominion powered down to minimal systems. The massive ship nestled between two large asteroids, its dark hull blending with the surrounding rocks. For 3 days, they had evaded hegemony pursuit, making short jumps through spacefold to confuse their hunters. In the command center, Ju studied the neural interface. What had begun as a simple control system had evolved into something much more profound. With each interaction, the connection between her and the ship deepened. Sentinel, she asked, is there a way to access the ship's archives more directly? We need to understand everything if we're going to survive what's coming. The AI's light pulsed gently. There is a direct neural interface in the central core. It was designed for precursor commanders in times of crisis. It would allow you to process vast amounts of information rapidly. Is it dangerous? Taiho asked immediately, his protective instincts flaring. The interface was designed for precursor neural patterns, Sentinel acknowledged. But the commander possesses the compatible genetic markers. The risk is acceptable. Ju considered for only a moment. Take me there. The central core was a spherical chamber deep within the ship. In its center floated a crystalline orb, pulsing with soft blue light. The walls were lined with what appeared to be liquid metal, shifting and rippling in complex patterns. This is the heart of the Dominion's intelligence system, Sentinel explained. Place your hands on the orb, and your mind will connect directly with the ship's archives. Ju approached the floating crystal. Her team watched nervously as she reached out and placed her palms against its cool surface. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Ju gasped as information flooded her consciousness, not as words or images, but as pure understanding. She saw the precursor's entire history in an instant, their rise across the galaxy, their countless achievements, their eventual encounter with the void cascade. She experienced their desperate war against an enemy that consumed reality itself, felt their despair as they realized they could not win, only buy time. And she saw their final hope, humanity. Not as servants or tools, but as inheritors, a species whose unique neural patterns could accomplish what the precursors themselves could not. When Ju finally broke contact with the orb, she collapsed to her knees. Subin rushed forward to support her. Captain, are you all right? Minji asked, concerned by her leader's pale face. Ju's eyes were unfocused, still processing what she had experienced. The hegemony, she whispered. They've known about us all along. Hours later, when Ju had recovered enough to speak, she gathered her crew in the command center. Her eyes now held a new depth, as if she had lived 1,000 years in a single day. The hegemony found minor precursor artifacts centuries ago, she explained. They discovered references to humanity as the chosen inheritors. They've deliberately kept humans suppressed because they feared our potential connection to precursor technology. That's why they've restricted our colonies to resource-poor worlds, Do-Yun realized. Why they've limited our technological development under the guise of safety regulations. They've been afraid of us, Taiho said, his voice tight with anger. All this time. Ju nodded. The precursors saw something in humanity that the hegemony fears. Our adaptability, our neural flexibility. That's what makes us compatible with their technology. We need to tell people, Hyen said. Humans throughout the galaxy should know the truth. Juwu turned to Sentinel. Does this ship have communication capabilities that can bypass hegemony monitoring? The quantum communication array can transmit to all points in the galaxy simultaneously, the AI confirmed. It cannot be blocked or traced by current technology. Using the ship's advanced systems, they prepared their message. Juwu recorded a simple, direct explanation of what they had discovered, about the precursors, about humanity's true place in the galaxy, and about the hegemony's centuries of deliberate suppression. When they activated the quantum array, their message bypassed all normal communication channels, appearing simultaneously on devices throughout human settlements across the galaxy. The response was immediate and dramatic. Human colonies erupted in rebellion. Workers on mining planets downed tools. Transport pilots refused to carry hegemony cargo. Military personnel serving on hegemony vessels questioned their orders. It's working, Minji reported, monitoring communications. The hegemony is trying to dismiss it as propaganda, but too many people believe it. They're demanding answers. But as human systems convulsed with the beginnings of revolution, something darker loomed. The ship's advanced sensors detected disturbances at the galaxy's edge, spatial anomalies that defied normal physics. What are these? Juwu asked, studying the readings with growing concern. Sentinel's light dimmed ominously. These are rifts in reality, the first signs of the Void Cascade's return. The crew gathered around the displays, watching as normal space warped and twisted. Stars near the anomalies seemed to flicker, as if struggling to maintain their existence. The Void Cascade returns, Sentinel confirmed. We must reach the sanctuary. What's the sanctuary? Juwu asked. The final precursor outpost, hidden beyond normal space. There you can complete what they began. The starborn Dominion slipped away from the asteroid field, its engines powering up to full capacity. Using the spacefold drive, they traveled to coordinates that appeared in no standard star chart. Deep in uncharted space, they emerged near what appeared to be an ordinary red dwarf star. But as they approached, the star's light bent strangely, revealing a massive structure hidden within its corona, a space station of impossible proportions. The sanctuary, Sentinel announced, last refuge of precursor knowledge. The ship moved with impossible speed toward the spatial rift. Energy collected along the hull, focusing into beams of blue-white light that struck the emerging void entities. Where the beams hit, the creature's fluid forms solidified momentarily, becoming vulnerable. Human ships, Juwu broadcast. Your weapons will be effective after our beams strike. Target the solidified areas. A few brave human captains, already part of the rebellion sparked by Juwu's earlier message, moved their ships forward. They fired at the spots the Dominion's beams had struck. To everyone's amazement, their relatively primitive weapons actually damaged the entities. The hegemony forces held back, confused by this unexpected development. Admiral Kehan watched in shock as his own weapons, fired in a tentative test, passed harmlessly through the void creatures, while the human ship's attacks proved effective. As the battle intensified, the void entities began targeting the hegemony vessels. 3 cruisers were caught in a reality distortion field. The ships twisted impossibly, their matter rearranging at the molecular level. The screams of their crews echoed briefly across communication channels before falling silent. Admiral Kehan, Juwu transmitted during a brief lull. The precursors engineered humans with neural patterns that naturally counter the void's influence. That's why they chose us as inheritors. Our brains process reality in a way that resists the cascade's distortions. When connected to precursor technology, we can create a resonance that disrupts their ability to manipulate matter. She paused, letting the implications sink in. This is why the hegemony's suppression of humanity was not just unjust, it was dangerous for all life in the galaxy. The precursors knew the void would return. They prepared us to fight it. Another hegemony vessel twisted out of existence, Admiral Kehan's face reappeared on the communication screen, his composure visibly shaken. "Even if what you say is true," he said, "one ship cannot combat this threat. Not alone." Ju agreed. "But the sanctuary contains templates for precursor technology that can be adapted to your vessels. Together, we might stand a chance." Faced with extinction, the hegemony made its choice. Admiral Kehan's voice came through, his usual arrogance replaced with grudging respect. "Command your defense, Inheritor. We will follow." Within hours, human technicians from the sanctuary began transmitting modifications to both human and hegemony vessels. Ships from both fleets formed a new battle line against the widening rift. Standing on the command deck of the Starbound Dominion, Ju directed the combined fleet. The neural connection between her and the ancient ship created patterns of energy that spread to the modified vessels, allowing their weapons to harm what should have been untouchable. "The rift is stabilizing," Do-Yun reported. "We're holding them back. For now," Ju cautioned. "This is only the first wave. The war has just begun." As the battle continued, news spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had looked down on humans for centuries watched in amazement as humanity emerged as their last, best hope for survival. The ancient warship, awakened by a human's touch after 200,000 years of waiting, had forever changed the galaxy, just as the precursors had intended 200 millennia before. Human colonies that had lived under hegemony restriction now stood as equal partners in the defense of all life. The Hegemony Council, facing extinction, formally recognized humanity's new status, and at the center of it all stood Ju Park, once a simple archaeologist, now the bridge between ancient wisdom and the galaxy's future. The transformation she had undergone in the sanctuary continued to evolve, her understanding deepening with each passing day. As she guided the Starbound Dominion through the chaos of battle, a sense of rightness filled her. This was why humans had always looked to the stars with wonder. This was the destiny the precursors had seen in their primitive ancestors so long ago. The galaxy would never be the same.